Hello everyone and welcome to the first weekly recap of the IEPS 2023 team tour. I'm joined again by Tom Sprite today to go over the standings and 5 games that you have all kindly selected for us, some of which may be a little bit longer than others, but all of which have been pretty exciting evidently for all of you to want to go over them again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. We'll have a few guests joining us as well. Those will be the people who have played the games, so they can come and provide their analysis, as well as us looking over things.
Yep. There'll be an order of formats, so coming from Paldea to LC as they are in the Discord, and of course on the docs as well. And there'll also be a special fantasy segment for those of you involved with the doubles fantasy. You can get a little bit of a catch up on the standings and exactly what happened there. But first off, we'll have the actual current standings themselves for all of the unis. Of course, at the moment, this is the Xerneas stock, and we have the 5 teams that have managed to get their first week win: St Andrews, LSE, Durham, York, and Queen Mary.
Yeah, particularly St Andrews going undefeated in their first week with the St Andrews Annihilates, which is a very impressive performance.
Yeah, pretty much coming off of last year, they did fairly well. Didn't quite make it to finals, but I believe they made it to semis, if I recall. But it was a pretty good performance now of 2 teams, maybe a little bit different how it's split there, but still coming out 5-0 in the first week, so fairly strong. We'll see how things develop. You can see here that Queen Mary have played an extra game, but they have actually played their week 2 already, so that's a fun one. And they did get the win, the loss on that one actually. No, I think it was the win because they got the loss in the first week, so yes, just an anchor here, having the 2 wins on the board already.
Yeah, absolutely. Very keen players over there at Queen Mary.
However, we move on to Yveltal, which have another 5 teams, of course, as is customary, because it's only been the first week. Cambridge, Glasgow, Liverpool, Bristol, one of 2 Bristol teams, and Oxford.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, another 5-0 as well. I guess it was expected that some would happen, at some point. But in the first week as well. So Cambridge also starting out very strong. Another university which has seen some good success in previous years.
I mean, I think interesting to see. Maybe not be a little bit disingenuous to point this out, but our 2 finalists from last year not having actually picked up the first week win. Of course, Durham has split off their teams a little bit with the Dunsparces, which did actually get the first win, but it's just quite funny to see them here, actually.
I'm sure they'll manage some great success in the weeks to come.
And as for Zygarde, you can see here we have UCL. The rest can't really give them a university, so to speak. St Andrews, York, and Southampton.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, week 1, there's not a whole lot to say about the standings. You can't really make too many predictions this early on. But yeah, that's the recap.
Yeah, all up in the air for the time being. MVP, as some people might know in the server, currently down for maintenance, as they say. So that'll be back up whenever it comes back up. But yeah, pretty much.
Definitely.
As for the first game, I believe we are supposed to have a guest on. I'm not sure if they are able to or not. I think they did agree that they would be around, but I don't see them at the moment. So we'll bring up the replay for everyone to be able to see what's actually going on here. It is this Paldedex game between St Andrews and Newcastle. And it was a bit of a nail-biter, if I remember correctly. But truth be told,
yeah, very
it's been
back
a little
and forth.
bit. Yeah. So I guess for the sake of time, since we start slowly, I will get going on this at the moment. Here we are. The Volcarona Cinderace lead. Volcarona getting chipped a lot early. Getting the QD. I mean, you can sucker this turn. They actually decided to run U-turn on Volk, which is not something I would have ever expected.
Yeah, definitely interesting. And Quackful taking some good trip there as well, as we, I believe, see the Rocky helmet here as well. And so suddenly those Cinderace switch-ins are looking a little sparse.
Now, going back into the Volcarona here, it just seems to be a sack, really. Depends on what you come out here for momentum. Good old backs. Should actually take a good chunk from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Cinderace showing that even with the nerfs to Libero, it can still be a really potent offensive threat. And Fortress doing a lot this game, which seems to be a consistent throughout. We've seen a lot of strong Fortress performances this week, this game included.
Fortress, yeah, has done a lot this week for sure. I don't think we have another one scheduled for today's programming, but if you do take a look at the replays, the Fortress Enjoys have definitely come out in full force. And Cinderace just going to pick up another one.
Yeah, the Roaring Moon just goes down there. And this is the moment you've been waiting for. We have the Iono role player with Thunder, Terra Electric, Mismagius, which is a phenomenal set. And we do see the Terra Steel and Dragon Dance from Regidrago there as it gets paralyzed, which is probably what saved the
yes.
The whole team from getting swept at that point.
Without a doubt, was the only way around for this. But Drain Punch doing enough to the Mismagius here, so still having to finish off 4 mons of only 2.
Absolutely, yeah. Excalibur comes back in, but still can't break through this Fortress. Really has been a thorn in the side of the Newcastle player here, Jeff, I think it is. And yeah, Fortress claiming a kill, as we do see the Sui and Lilligant come in here and set up the victory dance. But it's not looking good. They are down 4-1. But Hariyama does just go down immediately there to what I can only assume is the hustle-boosted Leaf Blade.
You just have to hit every single move from here.
You do. And I think they do miss one here. Yep. But thankfully the Wochien can't do enough damage, as Close Combat KOs it the following turn. And yeah, Palafin good, but not quite good enough, and the defense boost provided by Victory Dance allows the Hisuian Lilligant to win and form a massive comeback, to be honest.
Yeah, it was a big game for sure. Definitely wouldn't have been able to get the win on this otherwise if it went for the paralysis on Regidrago. Very, very important there.
Yeah, that was big. The Thunder hit into Para is
really big
yeah,
one.
it's really significant there.
Just fix that. But yeah, that was the first Paldex game that we've had on recap. Definitely one of the title ones. Good to see some potential go to Newcastle as well. Coming in the first week, but I think we have Natdex next, which would be between Bristol and Durham, but this will be on the BBC, which of course yours truly, Tom Sprite, would be captaining.
Yeah, that is our Bristol team, and I believe we have Prof Chipboard, our National Dex player, in. Let me just. I guess. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Are you around, Chip?
I am. Are you hearing me?
Yes, yeah, I am.
Yep.
Welcome to stream. We are live at the moment, and you are on stream.
Hello, everybody. Very exciting. First time on stream for Youps.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. This is a season of debuts. Your debut as a starting player and on stream as well. So.
Yeah, I managed to get out of playing last year, so unfortunately.
Yeah, this year, unfortunately, the numbers didn't quite work out. So, but we do we are fortunate enough to be able to be watching your game this week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can see
I've got
stream.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got the stream open, so I might be a couple turns behind or so, just due to the lag. But,
If you use the Discord one, you should be able to get the same perspective a little bit sooner rather than
oh
the
yeah,
YouTube feed.
yeah. Sorry, there we go.
Absolutely.
But just off of matchup, what were your thoughts coming into this one?
Yeah, so he's got a bit of an interesting team. Like he's got the bulky sort of Orv, Tapu Fini core, and he's got an Umbreon, and so I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, well, uh, if he doesn't bring his bulky stuff like his Umbreon and all that, then he's going to get absolutely run over by sort of Mega Manectric and offensive Deoxys speed, and so like my initial build was like things like that, and just general utility tool. I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'm just going to go in and click buttons. And then I realised if he just brings speed boosting Mega Medicham, which Tom actually pointed out, that I just get completely rolled. So ended up with a fairly bulky Mega Main set, and then just a little bit of hazards and with the Dunsparce, so I shouldn't ever fold to Spectra.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, the addition to Trailblaze in Mega Medicham's move pool as a result of Medicham getting it is
Has been interesting.
means that it's a really potent offensive threat if it can get a speed boost off.
Yeah, it does remove quite a lot of ways of doing counterplay to it. Particularly if you're playing like a HO matchup, it means that you're not necessarily going to be able to rely on just Scarf as a natural speed as much. Which basically meant I had to suck it up and run a very stupid set on my Deoxys because it's my only psychic type.
Thankfully, Medicham still has the issue of not being able to break through psychic types too easily. So at least there's that. I mean, Duosion being the classic 2-point answer to it if you really wanted something affordable.
I mean, there's still ways to get around it. I mean, you can do things like bulk up return with a cover, or there's also things like laser focus cheese you can do.
I've seen Calm Mind as well, actually.
Yeah,
which has been interesting.
Yes.
Calm Mind Shadow Ball in particular, but we'll get on with the replay.
Yeah, sure. I'm just leading rocks here because I want to figure out what his defogger is early. Because if he's spin Serena, I can get basically my Azumarill in early. So I'm just whirlpooled.
This was interesting.
Do we slow it down a little bit just so we can talk through, or
Yeah. This turn was after the whirlpool, right? And then the switch out the next turn was something.
Yeah. Presumably he just doesn't want to take damage on Feeney because he's worried about the Annihilate. And that's kind of, I mean, the crit's a bit unfortunate. It reveals he's defensive but not fully defensive. And at this point, my play is just set up because the Heavy Slam is not doing enough to break a sub, and if he's somehow got sub, but fits that, then I'm in a really bad spot. And I'm trapped anyway, so it's just trade damage on this thing.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and the reason I'm playing a bit psycho with Registeel like this, if you look, he doesn't have his Roaring Moon, which he is on the bench, and so that's one of the things which I desperately needed this thing for, and so it's kind of I can use health on this, or I think I can use health on this pretty safely, and just get information out. But yeah.
Which works out pretty well if any of the viewers have seen this replay already.
Yeah, because I mean, Heavy Slam again here, just continue getting chip, and he's got into Corviknight, and if he taunts me, it's annoying here, but I don't know what his set is. Again, I want information. I kind of assume he's just going to defog, which is why I iron defense up. Although once I've already popped a Compliant defense, it's a bit of an iffy turn to that. And yeah, he's into Spectra now. I don't want to let him sub, because if he's sub-toxic, that's the only set which can beat my Dunsparce. So my play is Heavy Slam, and here he, kind of just has to trade health, which sucks for him. I do get a slightly lucky Heavy Slam crit here, double critting. It basically just means I'm a bit higher. It means I've got a bit less health than I would have liked, and it basically lets me 1v1 my Tapu Fini without, just going into the Dunsparce and beating it. But once this is Whirlpool, then it's probably not packing enough moves to stop my the Dunsparce from calm minding up and boom bursting on it. But yeah. He goes into Medicham. May as well preserve it because there's no reason kind of not to at this point, because still I don't know if Corviknight can touch it or not. He goes into Corv, and I'm not assuming it's going to be bulk up here because he's already revealed Defog. But obviously he reveals that, and then I'm in a slightly tricky situation because I don't have anything special to hit him. Bar like with the Dunsparce, and the Dunsparce needs turns to get going.
Yeah.
So my play is Taunt, and I basically need to guarantee I get it low. So that's why I do like the whole second Seismic Toss to bait him into Roost to get this in for free, and then I know basically the bulk up's going to let me live and gets enough chip on it. But yeah, so basically this sequence is just me panicking a little bit, realizing I just need to taunt and keep it low.
And honestly, I mean, I think maybe some of the viewers will be thinking this, because I certainly am. Just the sequence of plays that happened there to deal with that Corviknight. If we just want to pause just for a minute, so that I'm not sort of talking all the way through the replay, but yeah, those sort of sequence of plays of Seismic Tossing one time, baiting the Roost out, going into Taunt, bulking up so that you get the so that you can live the attacks, get the necessary chip to keep it low, and then force it out. I mean, I think is genuinely just sort of it shows your experience, right? I think probably with the team that we had prepared, 9 out of 10 players probably would have just lost on the spot right there. But seeing that interaction and those sequence of events to enable yourself to get through it.
I should have probably just bought a more conventional Taunt and just gone, special Heatwave so I can hit it. But yeah, it was I wasn't 100% expecting bulk up mono attacking Corv, and I had lots more in earlier versions of the team to deal with it, and now I kind of removed a lot of that to deal with other stuff. So, but yeah, it goes into Neolago, and this thing basically Annihilate takes any hit from it and kills it with close combat. So I'm just then U-turning because Rage doesn't kill Medicham, because it's Scarf, because I needed something to prevent Spectre, particularly with defensive deal speed. And at this point, it's kind of I'm at the stage where I'm just clicking U-turn, getting into momentum, and put myself in a position where I just win.
Here we see some expert EVing.
Yeah. Ignore the EVs because this thing originally was defensive, and I didn't change the HP investment when I changed it to Belly Drum, which is pretty dumb. But yeah, ultimately the whole Tsarina was a very obvious check for him to bring for Azumarill, particularly if he's not. The other thing would be like Fizz Death Helmet Corviknight, which is I kind of expected, but Sap Sipper basically let me abuse Tsarina because it means it literally can't touch you outside of Rock and Play Rough. And so, yeah, it was something I identified in prep as being a potential option, and because you don't need huge power to 2-hit Corv for +6, I kind of flipped it on that it's unlikely he's got Helmet Corv with Whirlwind that deals with it or whatever. But yeah, it's definitely a spooky matchup, and I'm a little bit annoyed because if I just brought Mega Menetric in the first interest, it kind of would have ran over him. But he had some good things in there, and definitely I do see the logic on a few bits. It's just I'm a bit confused as to why you would run Whirlpool, Feeny, and then not basically, and then basically if you're using Whirlpool Feeny to trade health with Registeel, then you kind of want to stay in and fully deal with that. But yeah, no, he definitely played well. I don't think he's played a lot of draft. The opponent, at least it's not a name I know. and he played fairly solidly. It's just unfortunate. I kind of probably knew some areas where I could abuse, things like the sap zipper Azumarill, which is not something people tend to expect or tend to scout for.
People forget about sap zipper a lot.
absolutely.
It can definitely be very spooky sometimes. I know I've seen I think I was prepping something for Oras a while ago, and we ran for a friend. We were running a sap zipper Perish Trapper Azumarill to deal with I believe it was a Manaphy actually. So
And that's another pretty reliable set. Obviously, if it works, if you hit the whirlpool. If you don't hit the whirlpool, then it's pain.
very unfortunate, as they say.
Yeah.
Unfortunate does not begin to describe.
But yeah, no. Obviously it looks a little bit scuffed, but I think one of the things to point out is just because your opponent starts setting up, you need to kind of stay calm.
Yeah.
Because that's what I think I've noticed. It caught a lot of the newer guys out of something starts setting up, many, even though they've got the counterplay to handle it, they just panic because, oh shit, this thing is setting up. So I think that's something to actually bear in mind for new players, and I hope that's something you can potentially learn from. Is even if your counterplay is a bit awkward, you can still better go into it and try and that. And I think as well what Dom 3 did is not bad at all, but once I've done that sequence to get things low and to keep it in range of being revenge, it's very hard for Corva Knight to ever get back up to full health, or at least get up to enough health where I can't then go into Registeel and start iron defensing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well.
Amazing. Thank you for the analysis, the advice, and general wisdom. It's
That's all right. Thanks for having me on, and
good to have you on stream.
Yeah. All right, cheers, guys. I'll just dip off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks. Right, and I believe our next format is Ubers.
That would be correct.
If I'm not mistaken.
The Ubers game between Cambridge and York. And
Absolutely.
this was yet another very close game, actually, similar to the Paldead X1. And it was pretty good to watch, actually, off of this one. I remember watching this one live, and I believe, hopefully, we should have Joe here. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Hey, welcome.
Hi.
Brilliant. Well, I hope you should be able to see the Discord stream perspective.
Yep.
And that is your replay. What were your thoughts coming into the matchup, just off of team preview?
So Mega Mewtwo Y was insane. Only thing that really took hits particularly well was Umbreon. I brought T-Spikes on Glowking to try and wear it down. Sub as well let me get like a couple of turns of Poison Chip to hopefully chip it in range. I was very scared of Primal Kyogre. I felt like nothing on my team particularly liked to take hits from it. My plan was mostly trying to kind of sack something to get hit on and then bring in something to revenge. Yeah. Oh, also Carmine, Ice Beam, Judgment, Arceus Electric, really scary into me as well.
Yep, classic Carmine Arc, always something you have to prep for, with most Arc forms, so just pretty much the ubiquitous part of Ubers. But we'll get started with the replay, and lead off is straight into that Primal Kyogre.
Yeah. I felt Arceus Dark was pretty free. There was nothing that really punished it. I had rocks. And then... Well, yeah, there they are.
Yeah. Rocks, pretty much just typical, early game pivoting. Get the Toxic Spike up. Yeah, I see also brought a Ground of Poison. I'm not sure if they have one on the draft at all.
It was Skunk Tank, so
Okay.
I didn't see a world where it came.
Yeah, definitely. Just general drafting advice to everyone. Make sure you have a decent grounded poison because people will bring toxic spikes against you otherwise.
Some teams aren't too weak to it, even if you don't have one. It really depends.
Absolutely.
But most of the time, a pretty good rule of thumb. See Boswell getting the toxic trade on Zapdos. Pretty sure they're okay with that one to wear it down, but I mean Zapdos can come in, come out, as has been demonstrated here.
Yeah, Lando getting chipped down by that combination of U-turn, rocks, toxic,
Yeah, I mean you just take out
and then just dies to ice beam.
Yeah, I think I considered it like the previous time it was in front of me and stayed in, but I was like, I don't think it's worth going for it yet.
Mm-hmm.
This was quite an interesting Arceus set, the acid spray.
Yeah, so I assume that was to try and beat Glowking, because admittedly, I think it beat Glowking either way just by being Calm Mind. But
Yeah, I think
I
so.
feel like Acid Spray let it hit significantly harder than like initially. And yeah, there goes the Primal Kyogre I was scared of.
Yeah,
That's Mewtwo Y when you get a
Big
plot
relief.
up on it.
Yeah. I was already pretty confident it was a Scarf Burst Wall, but that just
that confirms it.
sealed
Absolutely.
it for me.
And the T-spikes do indeed go back up.
It possibly a bit greedy, but
As
Thi-
they reveal the sub on the Melm.
yes, this was rough because I swapped T-Bolt on Genesect for Leech Life like 2 days before playing because I was like, oh, it hits basically everything harder, and it turns out the exception to basically everything was Melmetal, which then proceeded to be the biggest inconvenience of my life.
Yeah, and this sub protect set is actually looking quite problematic.
The ye olde Toxic Storm Melm hasn't actually revealed the Toxic yet, I believe, but it will come out shortly.
Yeah.
So what were you thinking at this point in the game then, when you saw this set with 4 Pokemon to go?
I was thinking, does this just sweep me from here? Which, fortunately, no. But, God, it was a pain. Yeah, I go for Recover here, because they've clicked every other turn.
Protect is fairly obvious.
Yeah. And then, yep, they continue subbing. I do wish I'd clicked Recover again here, but my reasoning was I've already shown that I'm willing to recover. So I was like, maybe this time they won't.
And then
The Protect was unfortunate.
I think that was a misclick, was they saying?
Yeah, they
They
said.
said it was a misclick.
Yeah.
Definitely a bit unfortunate.
So I think, really, I mean, looking at this now, is like the main reason why this Melmetal even got forced out in the first place.
Yeah. It's like I could have brought in maybe Mewtwo Y the next turn, but yeah. I think this was probably my biggest misplay. Because I've already revealed this has EQ, so like it's one of my better ways of actually hitting the Melmetal in this endgame. And I kind of sacked it instead of going Slowking when I think honestly preserving it would have been better. Even though it was getting chipped down with rocks, and even though the Arceus is still faster, I think hard Slowking was definitely the play there.
And yeah, the sub, like you said earlier, just letting you get that little extra toxic damage off.
Yeah, I think it was a roll without that poison damage.
Yeah, I thought that would be the case.
And then this is, I think, it's one of those. I felt like the only way I could possibly win the game from that position was going Slowking, and then somehow the both of us dying on the same turn.
Right.
And
Exactly, that
fortunately,
happened.
yeah, they gave me that with the Leech Life. And then yeah, I'm pretty sure if they were max HP, max Spadef, it was a like 30% chance to live if they got the double protect.
Yeah.
So from that point, I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure this is a win.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the odds being in your favor.
Yeah, I mean, the Grass Knot was smart to do this on this turn as well. Because,
Yeah.
Because in the event that this Buzzwole dies before this Glowking, the Melmoth will just get a free sub. I'm assuming that this has not got a flamethrower or anything to touch him on.
No,
Yeah.
I probably a mistake in hindsight, but it's one of those. I had Psyshock because I wanted to be able to hit a Carmining Arceus. Not for much damage anyway, to be honest, so maybe it wasn't worth it. But then I also had Grass Knot to try and do the most possible to Primal Kyogre, and it did like less than 50% to no bulk, because that one is quite bulky.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, but definitely playing that nicely there with the Buzzwole interaction to allow you the necessary conditions to win. Which, yeah, it's definitely a good skill to have, being able to identify your win condition and the path to victory, as well as what the opponent potentially needs to be able to win themselves, and denying them that.
Yeah. Not always easy to recognize, but a good win maybe could have been a loss if they didn't have the substitute here, but at least executed properly after that Mel must have got forced out.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, sometimes you've got to play to your outs, and if that's your opponent making a mistake, then so be it. If
We'll
you can
see some more
capitalize on
playing
it,
to our outs later, I'm sure.
definitely. But cool. Do you have anything else to add, Joe?
No, I don't think so. Just
Fantastic.
GG's to my opponent.
Yeah, definitely. A very close game. Thank you for coming on and taking us through your thoughts and bit of analysis there.
Enjoy
No problem.
building for week 2.
Yes.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
best of luck.
Alright. Okay. And now, we have a replay of all time, a game of all time, in doubles. This was really impressive to watch. I think we do also have the player here. Would be
We do
Cameron.
indeed.
Once they come in. And if I do say so myself, I feel like this came down to lead matchup. But hello, Cameron. How are you doing?
Can you hear us? I'm gonna take that as a no for the time being.
Yes.
I
Hopefully
will put a ping in chat.
they will be there in due course.
Indeed. I guess as a little preview to this replay, we do see here how I think in singles it's maybe less of a big thing, but in doubles, lead matchups can play a really massive part of how games go. Particularly VGC, which is not the format being played here. We are in 6v6 doubles. But in this situation, we see, you know, if you can put yourself in a favourable matchup off lead, you can really generate a lot of momentum and shift the battle in your favour. Just a second, we're having a few audio issues. Hello? Can you hear us, Cameron?
I think they cannot at the moment. What if I do this? I don't know if that'll do anything.
Oh.
Seems they still cannot hear.
No.
Well, worst comes to worst, they can type in chat and then we can try and relay the information.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's well, see if Cameron can get his mic fixed, and then if not, as you say, we'll relay what's being typed.
What I will do, I believe the Bristol Boomers are in this division. I will try
evil
and get
Tom.
up the match stats for the actual matchup itself, which was
Yeah,
between
good idea. Good idea.
Bristol and Durham. So you have the Megazord Y, Whimsicott, Regidrago stuff that you can see coming here. Pretty clutch, the Sun team with pretty good spread damage in Regidrago and Megazord Y. Great Tusk, of course, getting the Proto boost, Gyarados to pivot in and out, and then some assorted sort of extra mons to come and supplement various matchups. So sort of more specialist things, right? And then
Definitely.
we compare that to Durham, which seems to be more of a balanced team with a Ursaluna stuck onto it, which does have their only Trick Room set as Espeon, but Ursaluna can function perfectly fine outside of Trick Room just by nuking whatever is in front of it, as the bear does. Actually got banned out of Doubles OU recently, for all of those that don't know. But of course it is still legal here in Draft, and then the Terra Palafin as well. So I think the first thing to see, at least from my end, I'm not sure if this was realised to prep or not, but this team does not have a Wide Guard user.
Yes. I will. Yeah. So one of the things that was noticed in prep, or a couple of the things, was firstly there was no Wide Guard user, and secondly, their Fairy type was Cottony, which isn't known for being particularly resilient. Definitely a useful Pokemon. And so we saw the opportunity for the Regidrago to come to a matchup. Hello, Cameron?
Hello. Yes.
Hello!
we can hear you.
Amazing.
Amazing. Thank
I
goodness.
have no idea what happened there.
Yeah.
When I went back into the other room, it was working perfectly fine. That's
Well-
so bizarre.
Discord be a mere mystery sometimes.
Definitely. Thankfully, you can join us now, though, and well, you can take over from me.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we go to
The
the replay, what were you thinking then? What were your thoughts on sort of the matchup when you saw what Pokemon they brought, and maybe an insight into the prep as well?
So, my team went through quite a few changes, and when I came down to this final one, after like a few test matches, I feel like with this one I was a bit confused of what to go, and I think in the end I sort of ended up going with I'm going to lead with these two moms. I'm going to get a good start, and because I think, yeah, hang on. But yeah, I think my issue before playing this game is that I was focusing on trying to get this one strategy off. But instead, going into this match, I decided to sort of. Well, I was going to sacrifice a Pokemon, but then it sort of, it didn't go as what I planned. I didn't expect the match to go the way it did. And I didn't expect certain Pokemon like Espeon. I wasn't expecting Espeon at all. I was really fearful of Darkrai. I made lots of prep for Darkrai. And I also made quite a few preps for Cottony as well, just sort of covering all bases. But other than that, my idea was to just sort of lead Whimsicott, get Tailwind up, and try and take out the heavy hitters as fast as I can, because I noticed it was quite an offensive team aside from the Amoonguss, but I think Amoonguss could only really touch my Great Tusk. But it's good support, but it was never really that big of an issue because I had quite a few spread moves, so Rage Powder, and again I had plans for Sleep as well. I had things which I could use to sort of block Sleep, or block Sleep basically.
And we will see how it went. It was definitely a sight to behold when watching this, but we'll get on the replay. As with the Whimsicott Regidrago, pretty obvious to get up the Tailwind to start clicking moves.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
yeah.
yeah, it was.
That's a spread move. Yeah, I think some people learned today the power of Dragon Energy.
I was was expecting them to immediately go attack into the Regidrago to get Dragon Energy down, which is why I protected there. Luckily, it didn't matter that they went for the Charizard because I could still deal a good amount of damage. I did feel really, really lucky on this match overall. They could have gone for Jet Punch there and I might have taken out Charizard.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I feel like getting the Regidrago lead and just... Because there was a few mons which you couldn't guarantee KO. I think it couldn't kill Amoonguss guaranteed, and Corviknight, again, it lived a hit. But I think that was defensive Corviknight as well, especially defensive only does like 30%. But yeah, I was quite lucky with that lead, and after that, everything just sort of fell into place. And I don't think the next match is going to go as well as that, but I was quite sure. But I will say, yeah. But the good thing is, nobody has seen much else of my team, so I've got that going into the next match. Nobody really knows what I'm cooking with.
Yeah, information's still there. I think the spread moves have definitely been highlighted here, though, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Expect some more wide guard in the weeks to come.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about White God actually.
But yeah, no. Well, I guess next week you'll have to win in 3 turns then.
Yeah,
That's true.
just the 3-turn win.
But I think that does illustrate a few things, and one of them is having wide guard is pretty useful into teams that really like abusing this sort of stuff. But also no fake out here on the enemy team, because if you at least have something like fake out, you can try and slow down the game from the beginning, or at least threaten fake out into Whimsicott, which can give you a lot more tempo. But here, just off of lead, if we just reset this, you lead Whimsy, Regidrago, and they respond with Pult plus Espeon, and there is nothing that this duo can do to this lead whatsoever. So
yeah, absolutely.
I am quite curious about the Espeon. I'm not sure what it was doing, because again, I expected Darkrai over Espeon. I expected everything else, but Espeon just sort of caught me off guard. Because I'm not sure what exactly it was going to go for. Maybe I guess it's quite good against Tusk, but I'm not. I have no idea. But yeah. Fake out was quite an issue there, and another thing is the Palafin forcing to switch as well. I mean, I think it dies to a single Dragon Energy anyway, but it was still a moment where like it allowed me to get the Charizard in and Mega, and obviously take out the Amoonguss and the Corviknight.
yeah,
And that was quite a good opportunity to sort of, maintain the sort of momentum which I'd gotten from the first turn. But yeah, I think going into the next match, I'm obviously going to play a lot differently, because I've sort of shown my trump card here. Because I just saw like Regidrago, because I planned this before the draft even started. I was like, I'm going Regidrago, I'm going to Dragon Energy. That was and I just went into the draft hoping I'd get a match where I could actually fully use it. But yeah, I was quite happy with the way that went, of course.
it's one of the best examples of Dragon Energy the league may ever get.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to see more of it in future, because even defensive terrors can be quite a sight on this Pokemon.
True, yeah. Like going Terra Steel. Because like a Dragon Pulse still does good amount of damage to a lot of things.
Yeah, Dragon's more not getting nerfed this generation, unlike Lucky's Transistor.
I mean, Regieleki's nastier, to be fair. He kind of deserves that.
For sure. Yeah, no, that was a good win that actually helped your team win the week, which was good. So Crystal Bloomers kicked off the tournament with a win. So thank you for coming on, Cameron, and do you have anything else to add?
No, I don't think so. I do need to put nicknames on my Pokemon. I'm sorry for the boring Regidrago.
True, I should have caught that. Letting the Bristol sides down with no nicknames, but I'm sure we'll have them for next week. I will make sure of it.
Yeah. But anyways, thank you for having me. Pleasure talking to you all.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
Okay. Right. Okay.
And best of luck for week 2, of course. And finally, we have the new segment. Well, we say new, it's returning from last year, but the Doubles Fantasy segment. Of course, presented by the amazing Alolan Bob, who should be joining us shortly. I'll drag them in. Hello, hello.
Welcome, welcome.
Hello?
Hello, hello. I'm going to turn you up a little bit.
We can hear you.
Nice.
There we go.
Welcome to stream.
Thank you.
Okay, we've brought you here, of course, being the wonderful Fantasy Doubles Commissioner. Hopefully you can see the Discord stream perspective for the, I've got the
Yeah, you've got
Fantasy
the
Double Cup.
MVP and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead. How has Fantasy been in the first debut week?
Aside from forgetting to reveal the announcements channel, it's gone okay. No, so actually doing stuff has been pretty nice, actually. I'm glad I stuck to 2 divisions, though, 'cause 3 would just be way too much. No, it's been really fun watching all the games and recording all the stats for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people have had a lot of fun picking out their rosters. We've already seen some trades made for week 2.
Yeah, there's been quite a few.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
So do you wanna take us through your roundup for fantasy then?
So I think we've typically always started with the MVP. So typically when we highlight the top 20. So yeah, Incineroar being at the top is second place was I suppose it's what most people would expect, but in recent times actually in fantasy it never really did that well. So it's quite interesting to see it back up at the top. Thunderous, of course, takes the first place spot just because it in the last game of Sunday, I think it was St Andrew's game, it took 5 kills, so that's our kill leader and propelled itself to the top. Predictably, Charizard and Pelipper being in there in the top spots are quite nice, just because you can expect weather just to
exactly.
if they themselves aren't putting out damage, they're making everything else do things, and so they just piggyback off that. Last year's loser Grimstall has
In the top
managed to
20
do something this year.
to the top 10.
Yeah, it's number 9.
It was -7 last year.
Has it already beaten last year's performance?
By about 18 points.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah, but of the other ones in the top 20, not many people have picked a few of them. So, I think one of the favourites coming in was actually Palafin.
Yeah, I saw
a lot of people picked it
picking
up,
Palafin.
and then
Is...
it's near the bottom. I think it's
There it is, -1.
95th.
Nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, and so it's that might just be week 1 syndrome, but
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, as we just saw in the replay, in the 4-turn game, it switched in and died.
yeah, you can't really take much from that one game really to
No.
see
Exactly.
whether it's doing anything. Amoongus though is this year's Grimmsnarl so far. VGC and doubles players might be quite happy to see it down there.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it is also quite funny, just see it doing nothing.
Some might say even a little sus.
Really.
Amoongus
Yeah,
is always interesting in draft though for doubles because it's such a nuisance in prep because you do have to bring prep for it, like putting goggles on things. But
Yeah.
in actual games, historically, it's not actually done maybe as much as its point value might suggest. But it does always force prep, so we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, well, forcing goggles on something is always nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Just being able to remove the ability for something to run a bit more of an unpredictable item is really nice.
Yeah. Assist-wise, I believe Whimsicott, again, well, Whimsicott is at the top, I think, because of that game we just saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tailwind picking up 6 assists, I think.
Yep, basically. I think if you scroll to the right, we can see the assist leaderboard.
Yeah, it's... Ooh. Right over
Nice,
top.
nice. Yeah, and then you see the Mega Tyranitar
Yeah.
and Pelipper right up there
Yeah,
as well.
the weather guys, and then Incineroar as well. So
Yeah.
Incineroar doing kind of what you'd expect it to do.
Yeah, definitely, because it had a pretty poor performance last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
So
it did.
Things are slightly modified this year compared to last year. So just things like light screen last year were kind of not picking up points. So it's something we tried in the LDL is essentially like applying assists retroactively one turn. So if like you set up screens, you live a hit, you might get the kill next turn, and then that counts in this case. So
nice.
so assists are a little easier to come by this year,
I
which
guess
probably explains some of the things that Wims have got getting up there.
I guess it also leads to more points being awarded generally, which is probably more satisfying for people participating, seeing bigger points numbers.
Yeah,
for
I
a
think the reason
big number.
I think people take part for big numbers.
Absolutely.
Also helps to support Pokemon a lot, because support Pokemon wouldn't really want to be drafted on rosters as much otherwise, so that's always good. They're like even like lower cost mons, or even high cost mons like Whimsicott's. Whimsicott's not exactly cheap to put on a roster. To be able to rack up all those assists makes it a little bit more worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely. I think last year we saw the sort of expensive support Pokemon generally not going, generally not being picked up that much because of the nature of assists and how they were generated. So this year
they got dropped pretty early on if people had picked them. So it's a lot better. I think the best low tier this year is Mr. Mime, actually. This week, I should say.
Proving the doubters wrong, Mr. Mime.
See, Mr. Mime is fantastic. Like, for how cheap it is, just it doubles generally.
Yeah, I mean, I have to hold my hands up there because on the draft analysis stream, I believe for one of the drafts, I asked what Mr. Mime actually did, but here it is, proving me wrong in the top 20.
A lot of things.
I mean, I was explained to on stream, so fully my doubles knowledge lacking there, but hopefully, I've now been educated as to Mr. Mime's abilities, and excited to see it perform well for the rest of the games.
I will admit to tearing it a bit low. But I did want to see it actually get drafted because it hadn't in past seasons. So it's good to see it actually getting use, and then it'll go up to its appropriate price the next time I tier a doubles 6v6 board.
Definitely. Well, it's nice when things like that happen, when there are Pokemon that you never see drafted, so you just place them a couple points too low and then see if someone notices and picks them up. And it seems people are definitely taking notice.
Hopefully it carries on doing well.
The actual leaderboards, though.
So we have 23 teams this year. Mojo taking the lead. So it's a little blurry on here, but I think it's 49.
Yeah, 49.
I believe so.
One short of the 50 on the first week.
That would have been impressive.
Yeah, it's really nice to get 49 though. And then of course your second Sakura. I did find it quite interesting how differently both players had selected Pokemon.
Let's have a look then, because I haven't really paid attention. So let's get Mojo Scorpions. Actually, we're right next to each other. That's convenient.
That is very convenient.
Yeah. Is there actually the overlap here is Incineroar? It looks Incineroar and Rillaboom, Mr. Mime. So there's 3 mons of overlap, right? And then the rest is just totally different.
Yeah, I didn't realise just how much fake out you decided to pick up until until the other day.
I guess, well, with retroactive assists, I guess fake out
could be quite useful.
Be pretty useful.
Yeah. Well, you can see there, indeed, he's not done very well. A lot of the typical support mons haven't done well week 1, but it's week 1. A bad matchup is a bad matchup. They'll probably come back next week.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll say, oh, indeed he's not good or not done well for 19 points, and watch people trade it out, and then next week it'll pick up like 25 points or something like that.
It happens all the time.
It always does. The doubters.
Yeah, perhaps I shouldn't have picked the week 1 when I knew that my team was playing into it, but hey ho.
I like the confidence, actually. That's quite interesting. I do think that it's interesting to see whether people draft their fantasy rosters based on the players or based on the Pokemon themselves, because obviously both have a factor. And I think last year we saw a couple of Pokemon that a lot of people flocked to picking up late on that weren't necessarily obvious picks at the start, but once it was seen how people were using them and certain coaches were getting really good mileage out of them, they obviously started picking up a lot of points, and thus people flocked to them.
Yeah, I think Mega Gardevoir was the big one last year. I think about week 6 or something, it came out of nowhere and nearly won.
Yeah, no, it did really, really well.
I think maybe this time only having it in one division is definitely hurting people.
Yeah, I did consider it as a pick, and then when I saw it's only one division, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, definitely. Limits the points potential.
Showing everyone's rosters for all of those.
There's a lot of coughing.
Yeah, I mean it's a cheap mon, so you know, if you need to round out your roster, it can fit in.
I can't wait for it to come actually and see what it does.
Well, I mean, I actually don't know who has the coughing draft, but have a look.
It's two
Reggie
people with it.
Gigas draft or something, or is there?
I think it might just be a 1
like
point
that?
as people have picked up, because it can actually do something with neutralizing gas.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, I'm here. Am I the only person that's actually picked up Sunflora?
I think so.
You're on the Sunflora hype train.
I'm on the Sunflora hype train. Yeah, everyone else is on the coughing or Jigglypuff hype train. I see.
I think
the popular one-pointers.
Yeah, Herdier ended up being another one, which arguably probably shouldn't have been in 1 point, but again, got picked up by people, so it's good to see it being used.
Absolutely.
But yeah, there we have it. Is there anything else you'd like to add for the first fantasy recap?
I think we've covered most of it.
Fantastic. Thank you for talking us through it. And you know, giving us an update. We'll be excited to see how fantasy progresses with your updates each week.
I think there'll be a big shake-up next week, so I think there's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah.
So what's the inside scoop then for the stream watchers? If you as fantasy commissioner had one piece of advice for the fantasy drafters, what would it be?
Don't pick what I pick, because well, I'm actually quite rubbish at this, so it never goes well.
And there we have it. Stay away from Malone and Bob's picks. Seemingly, it's the commissioner curse.
Let's see here. Where are you? I mean, you're a 9 for the moment. It's not too bad.
No, it's not going bad yet, but I was in second place after the first game, and then it was all downhill from there.
We'll see how it progresses.
Definitely. Thank you for coming up on and talking us through it. It's been good fun.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, and now on to the final format for today. Little Cup.
Is this our longest game of the stream?
This might be our longest game of the stream, and yet it is Little Cup. Unfortunately, the player from LSC cannot be here today, but as the person that did most of the team building for LC this week, I can at least bring the team building perspective and a few of the things about why we brought the mons and moves and everything that we did, which is relevant, I guess. At least of a matchup, right? Spritzy didn't come because there is 1, 2, 3 resists that were brought here, and I believe there was also a muck on the team, so 4 resists, and the only thing that Spritzy's actually good into was the Dratini, which we were just kind of set that like it's kind of just wasting a team slot if it comes, because you just let Ferroseed or Bronzor in for free, which were problems for us anyway, which is why we brought the Chimchar, despite having the Flash Fire Ponyta plus Wingull. It was like our safe way of actually being able to beat around these two mons, especially Ferroseed, with the quad fire. But we'll see. That wasn't entirely how we dealt with Ferroseed this game, but it was not quite the intention that it went that way.
Yeah, this was an interesting battle to watch live, that's for sure.
Yeah. we'll see. I think there's a few prep mistakes, maybe. I think, arguably, with the double set, we brought Shell Smash, and in hindsight, like, when I was watching the game, every single mon had a way to stop or mitigate Shell Smash. So maybe we should have just brought Rocks at a double instead of having Rocks and Chimchar, or just, like, run something else on it. But, you know, it was okay, I guess. And then Finneon was pretty much here as a pseudo switch in for like Ponyta and Wingull. Mostly Wingull because Ponyta just kills it with Wild Charge, but at least having the resist there means you kind of have to play a guessing game with Ponyta, and that was probably our best way around beating Ponyta because there really wasn't a single answer to it. Because if we start the replay,
Ponyta just a fantastic Pokemon.
The problem is, on turn 1, I was just sat here like, yeah, high horsepower is like the most obvious thing to come out, and we just said like, okay, we can't stay on Chimchar. High horsepower with RUV spread, unless it was lorbed, we were guaranteed, well, not quite, it was the 1 in 16 roll to live a high horsepower.
The old 1 in 16.
Yeah. So we could have stayed in, but the only thing we would have done is got up Rocks if we stayed in and just wasted our berry juice. So it wasn't really worth it. So this is probably the correct thing to just go for Watch Roll. Problem is, if they went for the Flare Blitz turn 1, this Watch Roll just would have got cooked.
They have just died. Yes,
it would have got one shot, which wouldn't have been good, especially seeing as how much work this Watch Roll ended up putting in. But we'll just roll the replay for now.
We see the discharge come off there, fishing for a paralysis, and the burn on Wattrel, which I believe does actually end up mattering on a calculator.
Yes. We'll wait see what happens. Finneon just comes in, forces it out. I was actually surprised. I think we take 1 wild charge if I'm not mistaken, but I'm just going for the skull. Don't get burned. Rocks go up. I think we trade Rocks, and then the Wingull comes
absolutely. in. Yeah, Wingull being such a threatening Pokemon, but there is the Storm Drain there. I'm a Finneon doubter, but the Storm Drain paid off.
And here we are. I believe it was this turn where we got the agency freeze.
That was so unfortunate. And Ferroseed, which was such a big player in this matchup as well.
I think the worst part is about this is that my matchup, literally earlier in this day, so we had lost Nat Dex doubles, right? So if we lost one more game, and 1 Paldeer. If we lost one more game this week, we would have lost the week. So then I come in with Ubers. I don't think the agency freeze mattered in my game, but I did get one versus a Zekrom. And then, literally like an hour later, we play this LC game, and then we get another one versus Oxtagoons, which I just feel so bad, because you got frozen twice in the same day. So...
Actual agents.
But we'll see, there's a little bit more than just a freeze in this game.
Yeah, getting the rapid spin off as well, because now that the Ferroseed's frozen, the chances of getting up Rocks are a little diminished, and the knockoff as well to remove a significant portion of its bulk.
And here, this is actually a Scarf Watchful. They do scout it nicely. I think this is just actually lives on 5%, but I believe from the range Wingull's it was actually pretty favourable to kill because we knew it was Lorb.
Yeah. Missing the Hurricane on the Bronze Orb, but the matchup of the Ponytas actually.
Yeah. Unfortunately, our one did not. I mean, I guess we'll see. I mean, I don't remember their one doing too much either, but we kind of just... This was a 50-50. That was a speed tie there that we lost.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you have Morning Sun on your Ponyta?
No, we did not.
No recovery.
No,
okay.
We were just free attacks CM because it just blew for everything with a +1, as provided that we actually got the 50-50s on speed. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so no sense to preserve, and there's the berry juice from the Bronzor, which I believe is a bit of a theme this battle.
Yeah, when I saw the recycle, I was like, I did not prep for this. We didn't bring any Taunters, and unfortunately this I think was where the turn cycling begins. This Bronzor then was like, I was sat there watching, and I was like, okay, this Bronzor is now an issue. I think the only way we can kill it is with Chimchar, but getting Chimchar in was difficult. And
yeah, absolutely, and with the pressure of Ponyta in the back as well to switch into those fire moves and get a flash fire boost.
This Aqua Jet, I'm gonna be honest, when I was team building, I just completely forgot to routinely learn Aqua Jet.
Yeah, that's really solid prep,
Um,
actually.
So our player, I'm pretty sure, because I didn't say anything about Aquajet and prep, just didn't know this Mon got Aquajet either, because I was sat there like, oh, it's just going to be like extreme speed. Or something like that, maybe to finish off Dwebble if it's been picked off on like 1 health because it's gone down to 30. But then
Yep.
Jet exists and it just does way more damage than E-Speed does. So I think we went for the Shell Smash, right? And then we're just forced out because with -1 we're just going to die to a second Aqua Jet.
I must admit, I was really hoping for the Endure Berry Juice there to get your Sturdy back and then be able to stay in and kill something. But I guess you needed all of your move slots.
Yeah, I think there was an argument to like drop one of the move slots, but then it was just like, okay, well, we lose a range on either Sandshrew, Ferroseed, or Bronzor, which are really important, so...
Absolutely, yeah. And just got some nice pivoting here, and I think the opponent says a little bit later, it would have been nice to be able to like pressure this pivoting with rocks up.
Yeah. Because these
but
are both weak to
unfortunately-
rocks.
Exactly, the freeze being really big there.
And it's just permanent. So this was really interesting going into Dwebble this turn, because it's just a matter of, okay, so I think we'll try and explain like what's going on with this. So if you just keep U-turning, because I think with players, if you get Bronzor to like just about 60%, I think from this range, Chimchar has a roll to kill with Flamethrower, but if you get to 60%, it's a guaranteed KO with I think, I assume on most Bronzor spreads, unless it was like Super Spadef. But anyway, with most spreads, Flamethrower gets the range. So I think the idea here was just a U-turn so that Berry Juice doesn't proc and then kill it through Berry Juice if we get the Chimchar position correctly.
Absolutely, playing around Berry Juice is it's quite an interesting part of Little Cup that you don't really see in other metagames. You know, with those sort of Sturdy Juice Pokemon or indeed Recycle, just not proc it so it can't get its full health back.
And then here, I think, is just the prediction on saying, okay, well, they're going to EQ this turn, and we don't want to go to, like, 1% on Chimchar. Because it is guaranteed to live in EQ, I think, because it lived the first time. So, just going to double here, which is really nice, because you actually get back to full off of this, because...
Yeah, definitely.
You get that. But if they did click Ironhead this turn, this would have just killed Dwebble, I think, from 50% range. So...
Risky prediction, but I guess when you're faced with this unkillable Bronzor, you do what you have to.
And they Ironhead again on the switchback.
And that's where we see the Flamethrower, which just
really,
kills the Sandshrew.
Really lucky, honestly, because if you go Ponytail in this turn, you get a Flash Fire boost, and suddenly something basically drops, trying to cycle around high horsepower Flare Blitz, and presumably Wild Charge as well.
Yeah, definitely. So going Sandshrew there was definitely fortunate for you. And Roost is revealed on Wingull, which is a little problematic.
Yeah. I think Toads just gets sacked here. Knockoff was, I think, the safest damage play, because we had Leaf Storm, but
yeah, you don't want to miss
that.
that.
This is the one. I think what happened is that the burn was not taken into account when calculating U-turn damage. So this U-turn here, I think the calc was put into the chat somewhere, if I remember.
Yes, I remember this play. This was,
I don't know if
killer.
it was. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. Minus attack, burned watch roll, and all of the damage rolls are 1 HP. Not even a roll to kill there, which, yeah, definitely frustrating.
So the Chimchar just had to get sacked, or else you lose. Watch was the only win con you have at this point, and you just can't lose this. So Chimchar has to die. And this thing comes in again, and I think at this point the only way you win here is through getting a paralysis, full power onto the Bronzor enough times to be able to break through with discharge. But you get the power here,
and there is the paralysis.
Yeah. And then this Charge got a crit. And I think in post-game...
I think the crit was a roll as well. Yeah. That's absolutely savage. actually, if we do go back a turn there, because as like terrible as that roll crit is, what we talked about earlier on the stream, you know, playing to your outs, this play following it was actually really nice. And when I was in chat, I was thinking, okay, well, I think there's still a chance they lose here even after this crit. But yeah, going into the Dwebble on the Aquajet, knowing that Wattrel is the win condition and that you need to preserve it because it will die to the Aquajet. And we saw earlier from the battle that Dwebble lives 2. At this point,
I think it's
Dwebble
a 1
can
in 6.
Earthquake.
It's a 1 in 16 to not live 2.
Right, yeah,
so
it's
you have
one
to
of
take
those
it.
ones.
Yeah.
And then at this point, I believe,
Yeah.
just to rub a little bit more salt into the wound, the Ponyta misses the final high horsepower, but I believe the Scarf Wattrel would have killed it anyway, so it's kind of just differential. But yeah, definitely an interesting game with a really bad luck for Alux. But also, you know, as we've said, sometimes you've got to do what you have to win. And finding the win con with switching Dwebble into Aquajet definitely was a nice play to get that win and make sure of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I had to issue a formal apology afterwards for this game because the freeze into the hacks on the Bronzor was just,
Absolutely.
I don't know what to say. It's
you guys are out here paying for Pokemon Showdown Premium.
actually, you know, we had the agency come through with this one, unfortunately, for the Oxtagoons.
Yep, definitely. Well, enjoy your cold pillows then. Yeah, and a cool game to watch. I like definitely as a spectator. I think if you're both of the players, it's maybe a little unsatisfying. Obviously, you'll be happy if you get the win. But definitely a fun watch, and I mean, you can see in the chat everyone was sort of talking and interacting, which is always good fun.
Yeah, also a really long LC game. 44 turns for
Yeah,
LC is
44.
Is not normal. With how offensive the tier can be, you just can't play super defensively. A lot of mons can't really be checked just by switch-ins. Like if we just go to the turn 1 on Ponyta, you have Chimchar Ponyta, and it's like, okay, well, high horsepower kills this. If they get the read right on the Finneon switch-in for Flare Blitz, they kill it with Wild Charge potentially. But then Wild Charge gets absorbed by Wattrel, and so does high horsepower. But then you kill it with Flare Blitz. So what move do you click?
Yeah, momentum is definitely really important in Little Cup, and I think similar to how doubles is because of how key momentum is. I think actually lead matchups play quite an important part in Little Cup, more so than other singles formats, in my mind at least.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that as well. Just because of what one turn can do for you in LC, even if that's just rocks. I think this game also illustrates how important rocks were, because having these rocks on this side gone after this turn with the Ferroseed frozen, and then these rocks permanently up on this side. Because I assume that their Sandshrew was their removal. I'm not sure.
I would think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, never got a chance to spin.
But this is the only reason that Wingull's taking 25% on switch-in, and Bronzor's actually getting chipped down on switch-in alongside the U-turns, because these U-turns aren't doing that much damage from these two mons. If I recall, actually both minus attack natures in building. I know the Wattrel definitely is. I can't remember the Chimchar wasn't, because this Chimchar was running T-Punch. Just to
hit the Wingull.
Hit the Wingull on switch-in, but I think it was still timid. Because of the fact that
probably did enough damage anyway.
Doing enough damage to a non-Evilite Wingull, which I was sad, but like, there's surely if they bring Evilite, sure, but I don't think it was going to be Evilite, and it wasn't. So
yeah, makes a lot of sense. Yeah, no, definitely an interesting game, and we probably won't see much like it in any sense from our remaining Little Cup games.
Honestly, I truly hope not. For the sake of my own cleanliness. I think. I don't think we can have another win like this, as dirty as this. This was just
Yeah.
something to watch.
It certainly was. Cool. Yeah, I believe that's all of our featured games then, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe that is everything for the week 1 recap. We've gone through Fantasy, gone through Paldea, Natdex, Doubles, and Ubers.
Yeah, we did the lineup, standings at the start. Cool.
So, unless you have anything else to say, Tom, I think that's going to be it from us today.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Thank you everyone for watching and joining us on YouTube.
Yep.
And thanks for bearing with us as we worked out a few issues with YouTube streaming. Hopefully it'll be a bit more streamlined next week. But yeah, definitely. Thank you, Takua, for hosting as well. It's been fun to come on and talk through stuff with you.
Yeah, thank you for dropping by, and then look forward to next week. You can choose your matchups come Sunday. Once everyone's played their games, I'll send out another poll in the media announcements, and we'll see you then.